So today I want to talk about how I became a software engineer, how I left the classroom behind. As a teacher for nearly a decade, I taught in China, I taught in South Korea, I taught here in the States, in New Jersey, North New Jersey if you're familiar with it, and how I left all of that making as little as $30,000 a year to landing my first job as a software engineer, making around 95K, plus there's some bonuses and stuff, so around 100,000 a year as a software engineer. And I want to share with how I did that today. Being a teacher, and if there's anybody watching this and you are a teacher, you would 100% be able to relate to this. Being a teacher is such a stressful job because it's not a actual job, it's really a lifestyle. Everything that you do is teaching. No matter where you are a teacher. If you see your students in the supermarket, guess what? You're Mr. Rogers, you're Mr. whoever, Mrs. whoever. You're a teacher all the times. I remember there was times where I was getting phone calls. I would get phone calls as I'm grocery shopping and they're asking about their kids' grades, their kids' grades. And I'm like, I don't have the grade book in front of me. I'm not necessarily sure why they got that on this particular assignment or whatever the case may be. And some parents will get upset, start yelling at me like I'm supposed to memorize I had over 100 students, and it just became a lot. I wasn't really getting paid that well, so I had to substitute income by doing Uber Eats, DoorDash, and just try to make additional revenue. And I knew that that's not what I wanted for my future. But yet I graduated with 2 degrees in pre-law and Africana studies, but honestly, what could I really do with those degrees and to make money? Besides being a teacher, there wasn't really too many other things that I could realistically do with the skill set that I had at the time. So I always heard about learn to code, learn to code, learn to code. I'm sure a lot of you probably heard the same thing. And I was like, all right, well, how do I learn how to code? So I went on YouTube, I looked up a whole bunch of courses. I went on Udemy, I got some courses there. I found a couple buddies to study with, and it was a rough journey. A lot of people that I started studying with quit, and they weren't studying anymore. I still had to work as a teacher. I still was doing Uber Eats and DoorDash simultaneously. So there wasn't too much time to really figure out things. So while I was DoorDashing, I would be like coding in between orders. I would be looking at the order, oh, that order is a little bit too low, let me say here. When I was teaching, during the teaching hours, in between breaks, I would be trying to figure out my code as well. I would code any time I was allowed to code. And now, what is the technology that I had? Did I have anything super crazy? Did I have like an Alienware $3,000 laptop? No, I just had a simple MacBook Air. And I know a lot of people was like, well, a MacBook Air is really expensive, and they are pretty expensive for their performance being so poor. I like Macs. I enjoy Linux as well. But honestly, you could get a laptop from Walmart for $300. It doesn't really matter in terms of coding. And so for me, that's the route I did, just something portable, and I was just coding whenever I could and just trying to absorb as much information as much as I could. And I made every mistake you can possibly make. Focus too much on HTML, focus too much on CSS, focus too much on this area, didn't learn this, didn't learn that. And there was a lot of holes in my quote-unquote game, if you will. But through that process, and I'm sure a lot of you are probably going through that journey right now as well, through that journey, you're still developing certain skills. And if you can reach out and get a mentor or ask some questions, you can drop it in the comments. You can drop questions in the comments, and I definitely will be more than willing to answer any and all comments that you guys have for this video. And throughout that journey, I just kept working on my skills, just kept trying to, all right, I got HTML in my back pocket now. Okay, I got CSS in my back pocket. Kinda got JavaScript in my hand, maybe. I don't know about my pocket at the time. I didn't really have it, but I was playing around with it. And so I would put other things. I know GitHub. Oh, I got GitHub in my pocket. Oh, I know Ajax. All right, I got Ajax in my pocket. And so I would just start putting small little Tailwind, CSS, Bootstrap. I would just, like anything. Those are really small when you look at the big picture, but without the small things, you don't have a picture. You don't have anything. And so I just focus on the small little things, step by step, and challenge yourself. That's the one thing that I did. I challenged myself. I forced myself to build projects. I signed up to boot camps. I signed up for boot camps, and some of the entries for the boot camps were to build projects. And so in order for me to go into the boot camp, I had to build a project. And so I built projects, and then I realized, well, this project is pretty good, and I did this on my own, so I probably could do more on my own and continue to build that way. And then it got to a point where it was just too much out of my control. I was just wasting too much time, and I eventually reached out for help. I took a in-person course, and I got the guidance that I needed to ultimately be able to get that six-figure job and honestly just change the trajectory of my lifestyle. And I'm sure that's what everybody here wants to do too, and be able to work comfortably from your home. And so the best thing that I can say is just focus on one skill at a time and then build, because honestly that's what I did. And it's nothing crazy. If I can do it as a teacher who is grading papers over the weekend, doing so many different things. Now, there are some tips as a teacher. What I did, I used Google Forms as some of my quizzes or some of my tests or some of my homework, so that way it would be automated. So I tried to automate a lot of different things, and I was thinking about, okay, what kind of coding programs can I make to make my job as a teacher easier? And so if you are a teacher, or if you're, any type of job, is there a program out there that would be beneficial to make your job easier? And now while you're learning how to code, you could be thinking about that program and start building the small bits and pieces towards that program that will ultimately have your job that you're currently working much easier. But then you never know where that program can take you. It can take you to a new job. It can take you to a startup that was building literally the same program that you were building. And that's, in my case, that's what happened to me. There's so many avenues that you can go, and it all just starts with you starting today opposed to you starting tomorrow, because tomorrow never comes in reality when we're talking about getting started. Hopefully that was really helpful for you. Let me know either way. Peace.